From zero to financial freedom. Every woman's complete wealth-building roadmap. Here is a number that stopped me cold the first time I heard it. Women, on average, retire with 2/3 of the money that men retire with. 2/3. And yet, women live, on average, 5 to 7 years longer. That means you will need more money, significantly more. And statistically, you are likely to end up with less. That gap is not just a financial problem. It is a quality of life problem, a dignity problem, a freedom problem. And if nobody has sat you down and told you this plainly, I am telling you right now, because you deserve to know the full picture. There is another number worth sitting with. The average American woman retires with roughly $150,000 saved. The average American man retires with close to $250,000. And financial advisors routinely tell us that most people need at least $1 million to retire comfortably. So we are not just talking about women having less than men. We are talking about women falling dramatically short of what they will need to live with dignity in the final decades of their lives. Decades that, because of their longer life expectancy, may stretch 20, 25, even 30 years past their last paycheck. Picture this. A woman named Diane. Maybe she reminds you of yourself. Maybe she reminds you of your mother or your sister. Spent 30 years working hard. She raised 2 kids. Helped put her husband through a graduate program. Took a few years off, and the children were young. Came back to the workforce at a lower salary than she had left, and never quite got around to understanding her 401k because nobody ever explained it in a way that made her feel smart instead of stupid. Not once in her adult life did anyone sit her down and walk her through what to do with money, actually walk her through it, clearly, without condescension, without assuming she already knew the basics. At 63, she is looking at retirement and she is terrified. Not because she was irresponsible, not because she was reckless with money, but because no one ever gave her the roadmap and nobody told her how much she would need it. That roadmap is exactly what this video is. And I want you to know something before we go one step further. Whatever your situation is today, whether you have credit card debt that keeps you up at night, whether you have never invested a single dollar, whether you are living paycheck to paycheck, whether you are starting over at 40, 50, or 60, you are in exactly the right place. This is not a guide for women who already have everything figured out. This is a guide for women who are ready to start figuring it out, right now, wherever they are, with whatever they have. Welcome. I am so glad you are here. If you are new to this channel, this is a space where we talk about money without the jargon, without the condescension, and without the assumption that you already know what a Roth IRA is or why it matters. We break things down clearly, practically, and in a way that actually fits real women's real lives. Because your financial life does not look like the textbook examples, and your roadmap should not either. If you find value in this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. Now, let us get into it, starting with the truth about why so many women find themselves behind, and why it is absolutely not their fault. Let us be honest about something that a lot of financial content skips right past. The reasons women tend to have less money have very little to do with bad decisions and a lot to do with systems, structures, and socialization that were not designed with women's financial success in mind. Understanding this is not about making excuses. It is about making an accurate diagnosis. Because you cannot solve a problem until you understand what is actually causing it. And you cannot heal from shame that was never yours to carry in the first place. Start with the wage gap. Yes, it still exists, depending on the industry, the occupation, and the demographic. Women earn somewhere between 78 and 82 cents for every dollar a man earns in a comparable role. For Black women, that number drops to around 63 cents. For Hispanic women, it is closer to 58 cents. These are not abstract statistics. They are the reality of millions of women's paychecks, every single pay period. Over a 40-year career, that gap does not just mean less money on your paycheck. It means less money going into your retirement account. It means smaller Social Security benefits, because Social Security is calculated on lifetime earnings. It means less capital available to invest, less cushion to handle emergencies, and compounding disadvantage over decades. One study estimated that the lifetime wage gap for the average woman costs her over $400,000 across her career. $400,000. That is not a rounding error. That is a down payment on a house, a fully funded retirement, generational wealth. That is a life-altering amount of money, quietly disappearing from your life because of who you are. Then there are career interruptions. Women are still the primary caregivers in most families, for children, for aging parents, for sick spouses. When a family needs to make a decision about who steps back from work, who reduces to part-time, or who takes the unpaid leave of absence, it is most often the woman. This is true across income levels, across education levels, across industries. And every year out of the workforce is a year of lost earnings, lost retirement contributions, and lost career momentum that is incredibly difficult to recover. A woman who takes 5 years out of the workforce in her 30s does not just lose 5 years of salary. She may lose promotions, seniority, and earning trajectory that permanently alters her lifetime income. She may re-enter at a lower level than she left. She may find that her skills have a shelf life in fast-moving industries. The financial cost of caregiving is enormous, and it is almost entirely borne by women, and almost no financial planning content addresses this reality with the seriousness it deserves. Now add the way women have historically been socialized around money. Think about the messages many of us received growing up, directly or indirectly, spoken or absorbed. Money talk was rude. Asking about salaries was vulgar. A good woman did not obsess over finances. She trusted her husband to handle it. She was grateful for what she had. She did not push for more. Girls were praised for being nurturing, cooperative, modest, and agreeable. Boys were encouraged to negotiate, to compete, to ask for what they wanted, to take up space. Those early messages shape adult behavior in profound ways. Women are less likely to negotiate their starting salary. Research suggests that less than 7% of women negotiate their first job offer, compared to 57% of men. They are less likely to ask for a raise. They are less likely to advocate for themselves in performance reviews. And they are more likely to defer major financial decisions to a male partner, sometimes to their own significant detriment, especially when that partnership ends. And underneath all of this is a simple, structural failure. Financial education has largely ignored women. The classic financial advice books, the investing seminars, the retirement planning guides, they were written by men, for men, with men's career trajectories and life patterns as the default. They assumed steady, uninterrupted employment, no career gaps, no caregiving interruptions, a shorter expected retirement period, a partner handling most of the household logistics. They were not designed for your life. They were not designed for the reality of most women's lives. And so women who tried to follow that advice found it did not quite fit, and many concluded that the problem was with them, that they were not smart enough, not disciplined enough, not financially savvy enough. That conclusion was wrong. The problem was with the advice. Here is the thing, though. Understanding the system that set you back does not mean you have to stay set back, because awareness is the first act of power. You did not choose these disadvantages, but you are choosing, right now, to move past them. You are choosing to learn what you were never taught. You are choosing to take ownership of your financial future with full knowledge that the system was not built in your favor and you are going to build your wealth anyway. That is not just financial strategy. That is an act of rebellion. And it is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself, your family, and the women who come after you. So let us start building. And the very first thing we build is clarity. Before you can change your financial situation, you have to see it clearly. Not the version you hope it looks like, and not the version you are afraid it looks like. The actual, real, honest numbers. This exercise can feel uncomfortable. Some women describe sitting down to do this for the first time as genuinely terrifying, like turning on the lights in a room you have been avoiding for years. But I promise you, whatever is in that room, it is better to see it. You cannot navigate in the dark, and you cannot fix what you refuse to look at. The first number you want to know is your net worth. Net worth is simply what you own minus what you owe. That is it. Write down everything you own that has monetary value. Your savings account balance, your checking account balance, any investment or brokerage accounts, your retirement accounts, the current market value of any property you own, any vehicles you own, and anything else of significant monetary value. Add all of that up. That is your asset total. Now write down everything you owe. Your mortgage balance, if you have one, your car loans, your student loans, your credit card balances, any personal loans, any money you owe to the IRS, any medical debt in collections. Add all of that up. That is your liability total. Subtract your liabilities from your assets. The number you get is your net worth. If that number is negative right now, I want you to breathe. It is a starting point, not a sentence. Many young women, and many not so young women, have a negative net worth. When they first do this exercise, what matters is not the number itself, but the direction you are moving. Your goal, from this moment forward, is to grow this number every single month. Even a small increase is a win. Even $10 of progress is real progress. The second piece of financial clarity is knowing your income, not vaguely knowing it, precisely knowing it. Write down every source of money that comes into your life in a given month. Your take-home pay from your job, any freelance income, any rental income, any alimony or child support, any side hustle revenue, any dividends or interest from investments, any other money that lands in your account. Add all of it up and get a real monthly income number, not your gross salary, your actual take-home pay, after taxes and deductions, because that is the money you actually have to work with. The third piece is your expenses. This is where most people have the biggest gap between what they think they spend and what they actually spend. Pull up 3 months of bank statements and credit card statements. Go through every single transaction, every single one, without skipping. Categorize your spending: housing, food, transportation, subscriptions, entertainment, clothing, personal care, medical costs, insurance, anything and everything. Some expenses that look small in isolation are surprisingly large when you add them up across a month or a year. 4 streaming subscriptions, a gym membership you barely use, and 3 monthly apps can quietly run you $100 a month, $1,200 a year, without ever triggering a second thought. Be honest. Do not judge. This is information, not a verdict. Just see the numbers as they are. Once you have 3 months of actual spending data, average it out to get a reliable monthly spending number, not a hopeful number, an accurate one. Now do the math. Monthly income minus monthly expenses equals your monthly cash flow. If this number is positive, that surplus is your wealth-building fuel, the resource you will deliberately direct toward everything we discuss in this video. If this number is 0, you are treading water, staying afloat but not building anything. If this number is negative, you are going backward. And understanding exactly where and why is the most important first move you can make. Here is what the clarity exercise gives you. A real map of your financial life. Not a fantasy, not an estimate, not a vague sense of things. A real map with real numbers. And with a real map, you can plot a real route. You will know exactly which expenses are draining your cash flow without adding proportionate value to your life. You will know exactly how much debt you are carrying and at what interest rates. You will know exactly how big your emergency fund needs to be. You will know exactly how much margin you have to work with. Financial clarity is not just an exercise you do once. It becomes a habit, a monthly check-in with your money that keeps you informed, intentional, and in control of where you are going. Once you start doing this regularly, the numbers stop being scary and start being data, and data is power. Now let us talk about debt. Because for many women, debt is the biggest obstacle standing between where they are and where they want to be. And I want you to understand something fundamental about debt. Before we talk strategy, not all debt is the same, and not all debt should be treated with equal urgency. There is a meaningful difference between debt that is actively working against you and debt that is relatively manageable. High-interest consumer debt, credit cards, payday loans, certain personal loans with double-digit interest rates, is genuinely corrosive. When you carry a credit card balance at 22% interest, you are paying that rate on every single dollar you owe, every single month. If you owe $5,000 at 22% and you only make minimum payments, you will pay thousands of dollars in interest. Before that balance is gone, years of your financial life come to interest charges on things you may not even remember buying. That kind of debt needs to be eliminated with urgency and intention. Then there is lower interest debt. Federal student loans at a fixed 4 or 5%. A mortgage at a reasonable rate, some car loans, where the interest rate is low enough that aggressively paying it off may not be your highest priority use of extra money, particularly once you are investing and earning returns that may outpace the interest. Knowing the difference allows you to prioritize strategically. You have two main strategic options for paying down consumer debt, and they are known as the Avalanche method and the Snowball method. Both work. The question is which one works better for you, specifically, given your psychology and your situation. The Avalanche method is mathematically optimal. You list all your debts from highest interest rate to lowest. You make minimum payments on every debt except the one with the highest interest rate, and on that one, you direct every extra dollar you can possibly find toward it. Once it is paid off, you take the full amount you were putting toward it, the minimum payment, plus the extra, and redirect it completely to the debt with the next highest interest rate. You continue this process, building momentum as each debt falls. Because you are eliminating the highest interest debt first, you pay less in total interest over the course of your payoff journey. If you are motivated by logic and the satisfaction of mathematical efficiency, the Avalanche method is your strategy. The Snowball method is psychologically powerful. Instead of ordering by interest rate, you order by balance, smallest to largest. You throw every extra dollar at the smallest balance first, while making minimums on everything else. The reason this works for many people is not mathematical. It is emotional. When you pay off that first small debt, completely and entirely, you get a genuine psychological win. You feel momentum. You feel capable. You feel like this is actually working, like you are actually making progress, and those feelings matter enormously, because staying motivated through a debt payoff journey that may take months or years is one of the hardest parts of the process. Research has consistently shown that people who use the Snowball method are more likely to stick with their debt payoff plan over the long term than those who use other methods, even when they pay slightly more total interest. The math of the avalanche is irrelevant if you quit after 3 months. The best method is the one you will actually stick with. So choose. Look at your debt list. Look at your personality and pick the strategy that fits. Then commit to it. Now here is a move that many women never think to make. Call your credit card companies and ask for a lower interest rate. I know, it sounds almost too simple to be real, but it works with surprising regularity. Call the number on the back of your card. Identify yourself as a loyal customer who has been making payments on time, and explain that you are reviewing your accounts and exploring balance transfer options with other companies. Tell them you would prefer to stay, but only if they can offer you a more competitive rate. You may be surprised at what they are willing to offer. Creditors would rather keep a paying customer at a lower rate than lose you to a competitor or a balance transfer. This one phone call, which takes maybe 15 minutes, can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars in interest depending on your balance. Make the call. You should also explore balance transfer options if your credit is strong enough. Many credit cards offer 0% or very low introductory interest rates for balance transfers for periods ranging from 12 to 21 months. If you have a realistic plan to pay off the transferred balance within the promotional period, this can effectively pause the interest clock and allow you to make real progress against the principal. Go in with a plan and discipline though. If the promotional period ends with the remaining balance, the interest rate typically jumps back up, and you may find yourself in the same situation you started in. Use this as a tool, not a shortcut, as you pay off each debt. I want you to actually celebrate, not in an expensive way, but acknowledge the win. Tell someone who will celebrate with you. Write it down in your journal. Put a big red line through it on your debt list. Mark it in some way that feels real and satisfying. The psychological relief of watching a debt disappear completely is not trivial. It is significant. People who acknowledge their financial progress, who give themselves permission to feel good about what they are building, are more likely to stay motivated and on track. This is not indulgence. This is strategy. And when the last debt is gone, when you look at your list and every balance reads 0, I want you to sit with that for a moment. That is freedom. Real, tangible freedom. Every dollar that was going to interest payments is now yours to direct. The discipline you have practiced, the habits you have built, the confidence you have earned, all of it transfers directly into the next phase. You did not just pay off debt. You changed your relationship with money, and that changes everything. Let us talk about your emergency fund, because before you focus heavily on investing, before you launch a side hustle, before you start optimizing your portfolio, you need a financial foundation underneath you. Without it, every unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a sudden job loss, has the power to knock you completely off track and send you reaching for the credit cards you just paid off. The emergency fund is the circuit breaker that prevents that cycle from continuing. The standard recommendation is to have 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses set aside in liquid, accessible savings. Essential expenses means what it would cost you to live at a basic level. Housing, utilities, food, transportation, minimum debt payments, insurance, not your full current lifestyle budget. With the dinners out and the streaming services and the yoga membership, your basic survival number, 3 months, is the minimum if you have stable, predictable income and a partner who also earns. 6 months or more is appropriate if you are the sole earner in your household. If your income is variable or project-based, if you work in an industry with frequent layoffs, or if you have children or other dependents relying on you. Some women in particularly uncertain circumstances aim for a full 12 months of expenses, and I want to say clearly, that is not excessive. That is wisdom. Where you keep this money matters as much as how much you have in it. It needs to be liquid, meaning you can access it relatively quickly in a genuine emergency, without penalties or delays. But it should not be so immediately accessible that you casually dip into it for things that are not actually emergencies. The ideal location is a high-yield savings account, an online bank that is separate from your regular checking account. Online high-yield savings accounts have offered interest rates significantly higher than traditional savings accounts. In recent years, rates have been in the 4 to 5% range, compared to the near 0% that most brick-and-mortar bank savings accounts have historically offered. Your money earns while it waits, and because it is at a separate institution that you do not log into every day, it is slightly out of sight and out of mind in a way that protects it from casual spending temptations. You may be thinking, I can barely cover my bills right now. How am I supposed to save 3 to 6 months of expenses? And this is a completely fair and honest question. Here is the equally honest answer. You build it incrementally, starting with whatever amount is possible, no matter how small. If you can spare only $25 a month right now, $25 a month is where you start. Set up an automatic transfer the day after your paycheck lands, before you have a chance to see that money as available for spending. Automation is the single most powerful tool in the savings toolbox. It removes the decision from your hands and removes willpower from the equation. The transfer just happens. Like a bill that pays itself. As your income grows or your expenses shrink, you increase the automatic transfer. Moving from $25 to $50 a month does not feel like a dramatic sacrifice, but it doubles your saving speed. When a debt gets paid off, redirect those freed up dollars to your emergency fund before you have a chance to absorb them into lifestyle spending. Over time, you will watch that account cross milestones: $500, $1,000, $3,000, a full month of expenses, and you will feel something shift. You will sleep better. You will feel less anxious when your car makes a strange sound or when you hear about layoffs at your company. You will feel, maybe for the first time, that you have a buffer between you and financial disaster. That feeling is the peace of mind that a real safety net creates, and there is no luxury purchase that can replicate it. Once your emergency fund reaches its target, you maintain it. It is your foundation, not your investment account. You use it only for genuine emergencies, and when you do, you replenish it as your first financial priority before moving forward. With your foundation in place, you are ready for the part that will genuinely change your long-term financial trajectory: investing. And I want to start by directly addressing the hesitation many women feel around this topic, because that hesitation is real. It is common, and it deserves to be taken seriously rather than dismissed. Investing feels complicated. It feels like something for people who already have money, or people who follow the stock market obsessively and understand terms like price-to-earnings ratios and bond yield curves. It feels risky. It feels like gambling, almost. It feels like something you could get badly wrong. And the financial industry, let us be honest, has historically not done a great job of making women feel welcome, competent, or adequately served in this space. The imagery, the language, the default assumptions of most financial content have not been designed for women. If you have ever sat in a financial planning meeting and felt like the conversation was being directed at someone else, you are not imagining that. But here is the truth I need you to hear. Investing is not optional for women. Not if you want to retire with dignity and choice. Not if you want financial freedom before you are physically enabled to work. Not if you want to stop living on someone else's schedule, at someone else's discretion, for the rest of your working life. There are two reasons this is especially true for women specifically. The first is inflation. Every year, prices rise. The average long-term inflation rate is roughly 2 to 3% per year. That means the money sitting in your savings account is losing purchasing power every single year it sits there. $100 today will only buy about $74 worth of goods in 20 years. In real terms, if your money earns less than inflation, which is exactly what happens in most regular savings accounts, you are not preserving your wealth, you are slowly watching it erode. Investing is how you stay ahead of inflation and ensure that your money grows faster than prices rise. The second is longevity. Women live longer. A woman who retires at 65 may live another 25 or 30 years. That is a long retirement to fund, and it requires a substantial investment base that has had decades to grow. You cannot work for 30 years in retirement. You need assets that generate income on their own, assets that grow, pay dividends, and compound, while you live the life you have built for yourself. Here is the foundational investing concept that changes everything once you truly understand it. Index funds. An index fund is an investment that tracks a broad market index like the S&P 500, which represents the 500 largest publicly traded companies in the United States across every major industry. When you invest in an S&P 500 index fund, you are not betting on a single company. You are buying a tiny slice of 500 companies at once. Technology, healthcare, energy, finance, consumer goods, communications, and more. When the overall market does well, your investment does well. When the market falls temporarily, your investment falls temporarily. But history shows us with remarkable consistency that over long periods of time, the broad market has always recovered and reached new highs. The average annualized return of the S&P 500 over the past several decades, including every crash, every recession, every period of panic, has been roughly 10% per year. That is a compelling return. Index funds have another major advantage: extremely low fees, because they do not require a team of analysts actively picking stocks. They simply follow the index, and their management costs are a fraction of what actively managed funds charge. Over decades, even a 1% difference in annual fees can mean tens of thousands of dollars less in your final account balance. Low-cost index funds are the backbone of most everyday investment portfolios, and they are what the majority of serious, research-informed financial advisors recommend for long-term wealth building. Now let us talk about the accounts you hold these investments in, because the account type matters enormously for tax efficiency. If your employer offers a 401k, that is your first stop, especially if they offer a match. A 401k allows you to contribute pre-tax dollars directly from your paycheck, reducing your taxable income today. Your investments then grow tax-deferred, meaning you pay no taxes on the gains until you withdraw in retirement. If your employer matches your contributions, say, matching 50% of what you put in, up to 6% of your salary, that is an immediate, guaranteed 50% return on that portion of your money before a single investment is made. If you are not contributing at least enough to capture the full employer match, you are leaving free money on the table. That is the single highest priority financial action for most employed women. Beyond the 401k, or in place of it if your employer does not offer one, the individual retirement account, the IRA, is your next powerful tool. A traditional IRA lets you contribute pre-tax dollars with tax-deferred growth, similar to a 401k. A Roth IRA is different, and for many women, even more powerful. You contribute money that has already been taxed, but your investments grow completely tax-free, and qualified withdrawals in retirement are also completely tax-free. No capital gains taxes, No income taxes on those decades of growth. You pay once, and then it is yours, forever. For a woman who may be in her 20s or 30s, with decades of compounding ahead, the Roth IRA is one of the most valuable financial tools in existence. There are income limits, so verify your eligibility. But if you qualify, using a Roth IRA is a decision your future self will thank you for relentlessly. Compound interest, the mechanism that makes all of this extraordinary, deserves a full moment of attention. Albert Einstein may or may not have actually called it the eighth wonder of the world, but regardless of who said it, the sentiment is accurate. When you invest $100 and earn 10%, you end the year with 110. When that 110 earns 10% the following year, you have 121. That extra dollar, interest on your previous interest, is compounding beginning. It looks minor at first, but over decades, it becomes transformative. If you invest $300 a month starting at age 25, earning an average of 7% annually, you will have approximately $780,000 by age 65. If you wait 10 years and start at 35 with the same $300 a month at the same 7%, you will have approximately $365,000. The 10-year delay costs you more than $400,000. Not because you contributed less, but because time for compounding to operate was cut short. Time is the greatest asset in investing, and it is the one you cannot buy back once it is gone. Start now, with whatever you have. If $300 a month is not possible right now, start with $50. $50 a month is better than zero. When you get a raise, increase it. When you pay off a debt, redirect that payment. When you free up cash anywhere in your budget, direct it here. Dollar cost averaging, investing a fixed amount at regular intervals, regardless of what the market is doing, takes the timing decision out of the equation entirely. When prices are low, your fixed contribution buys more shares. When prices are high, it buys fewer. Over time, you automatically average into the market at a reasonable price without needing to predict what the market will do. You do not need to time the market. You need time in the market. Those are two different things, and understanding that distinction removes most of the anxiety around investing. Now let us talk about something that most financial content underemphasizes: the power of multiple income streams. Because if investing is the engine of long-term wealth, income is the fuel, and a single income stream, one job, one paycheck, is both a ceiling and a single point of failure. If that one source disappears, everything stops. And even if it never disappears, it may not grow fast enough to get you where you want to go. There is a mindset shift that happens for women who build real, lasting financial independence. They move from thinking purely as employees, trading time for money at a rate someone else sets, to thinking as investors and creators. An employee earns what is offered. An investor earns returns on capital. A business owner builds systems that generate income with or without their direct involvement. You do not have to choose just one. The most financially resilient women tend to have a primary income, at least one additional active income source, and the early stages of passive income being built. Side hustles are the most accessible entry point, and the key to a sustainable one is leveraging what you already have. Skills you have developed professionally, knowledge you have accumulated, tools and resources you already own. A side hustle that forces you to do work you find draining at a low hourly rate for a gain that barely moves the needle is not going to last. A side hustle that uses your existing capabilities to serve people who genuinely need them, that can be built into something meaningful over time. If you have marketable professional skills, writing, editing, graphic design, bookkeeping, accounting, social media management, marketing strategy, web development, project management, language translation, tutoring, life or career coaching, photography, video editing. Those skills are sellable on a freelance basis. Right now, platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, LinkedIn, and dozens of niche platforms connect skilled freelancers with businesses and individuals who need what you offer and are willing to pay for it. A single freelance client who pays you $200 per project, 2 projects a month, adds $400 to your monthly income, $4,800 per year, that can be directed entirely toward debt payoff, emergency savings, or investment contributions. If you have knowledge or passion in a specific area that others want to learn, consider creating educational content. Online courses, digital guides, templates, and downloadable resources are among the most scalable income streams in existence. Once you build the thing once, you can sell it thousands of times without doing additional work. The market for online education has grown enormously and continues to grow. People pay for clear, practical instruction across an extraordinary range of subjects: personal finance, productivity, fitness, cooking, crafting, parenting strategies, career advancement, creative skills, language learning. If you know something valuable, there is someone who will pay to learn it from you. If you own assets that sit underutilized, those assets can generate income. A spare bedroom listed on a short-term rental platform, a parking space in an urban area, a car available for rental on days you do not use it, even storage space. Platforms exist to help you monetize almost any underutilized asset you own. Passive income is the category that, once built, truly changes the long-term equation. It is income that does not require your active daily time dividend paying stocks and funds that generate quarterly income. Rental properties, where the rent covers the mortgage and generates positive monthly cash flow. Royalties from a book, a course, a song, a piece of software. Affiliate income from a blog or social media presence. Interest from peer-to-peer lending. These streams take time to build. They require upfront effort and sometimes upfront capital. It is not truly passive in the sense of effortless, but it is the model that separates people who are perpetually trading hours $4 from people whose money and assets work for them around the clock. Building even one genuinely passive income stream, however small, shifts your psychology as much as your balance sheet. There is also value in thinking about how your social media presence, if you have one, can be monetized over time. Women who build audiences around their genuine interests and knowledge, whether that is personal finance, parenting, fitness, cooking, home organization, travel, career advice, can earn through brand partnerships, sponsored content, affiliate links, and their own products. This is not an overnight path, but it is a real one, and it is one where women consistently outperform because they build authentic connection in a way that audiences respond to deeply. Another often overlooked income stream is asking for more from your primary employer, negotiating a raise, pursuing a promotion, seeking out high-visibility projects, or even switching jobs for a salary increase can yield far more than any side hustle in a shorter period of time. Research consistently shows that job switching is one of the most effective ways to increase income, with people who switch employers often seeing salary increases of 10 to 20% compared to the 3 to 4% annual raise they might receive by staying. Do not overlook the income potential sitting right inside your current or next primary role. Even if you can realistically only pursue one additional income stream right now, and honestly, one is the right number to start with, begin there. One freelance client, one digital product in development, one investment account that pays dividends, one step beyond a single paycheck. Each additional stream reduces your vulnerability and increases your options. Options are what financial freedom actually looks like in practice. Now let us bring all of this together into the 12-month roadmap that makes it real and actionable. Because strategy without a timeline is just a wish. Here is your plan. Months 1 through 3 are your foundation months, and your focus is entirely on clarity and first steps. In month 1, you do the financial clarity exercise completely. You calculate your net worth. You map every source of income. You categorize 3 months of real spending and identify your actual monthly cash flow number. You open a high-yield savings account if you do not already have one, separate from your checking account. You set up even a small automatic transfer into it, whatever amount is possible without causing hardship. And you do it now, today, before month 1 ends. You also create a realistic monthly budget based on your actual numbers, not an idealized version. You identify at least 3 expenses you can reduce or eliminate, and you redirect that money toward your financial goals. In month 2, you shift your attention to debt. You list every single debt you carry, the creditor, the balance, the interest rate, the minimum monthly payment. You organize them according to whichever payoff strategy you have chosen. You call at least 2 of your highest rate creditors and ask for a lower rate. You research balance transfer options if applicable. You identify any additional spending reductions that can free up more monthly cash to direct at debt. And you begin making extra payments on your first target debt with whatever you can muster. In month 3, your systems are in place and you are executing. Your emergency fund has received 3 months of contributions and is growing. You have made meaningful additional payments on your first target debt. You are tracking your net worth monthly and watching it move in the right direction. You are getting comfortable with your numbers and developing the financial awareness that will serve you for the rest of your life. Months 4 through 6 are your debt elimination phase. You are in full execution mode. Your cash flow has been optimized. Your extra debt payments are as large as you can make them. You celebrate every debt you eliminate completely. You watch your net worth climb as your liabilities shrink. By the end of month 6, your smallest debts are gone. Your highest interest debts are significantly reduced, and the psychological weight you have been carrying around money is noticeably lighter. You have proven to yourself that this works. Months 7 through 9 are when investing begins. Your emergency fund is at or approaching its target. Your worst debts are behind you. You enroll in your 401k if you have not, contributing at least enough to capture the full employer match, more if possible. You open a Roth IRA if you are eligible and set up monthly contributions, choosing simple, low-cost index funds as your investment vehicles. You continue your debt payoff while allocating the first available dollars to your retirement contributions. You read, you learn, you ask questions, and seek clarity. You are no longer afraid of the investing conversation. You are participating in it. Months 10 through 12 are your income expansion phase. Your foundation is solid. Your debt situation is dramatically improved or resolved. Your investments are growing. Now you turn your attention to acceleration. You launch a side hustle or develop the one you have been considering. You identify and begin building a passive income stream. You increase your investment contribution rate. You look at the next 12 months and set goals that are bigger than any you have set before, because now you know from personal experience that you can execute. By the end of month 12, you are not just financially stable, you are financially strategic and building real, compounding wealth. That is not a small thing. That is a transformation of your life. There will be hard months. There will be unexpected expenses that set you back. There will be months when your motivation is low and everything feels impossible, and you wonder whether all of this effort is actually going to add up to anything. Those months are not evidence that you have failed. They are the normal texture of a real financial journey. Every woman who has achieved financial freedom has had those months. The difference is that she had a plan to return to. She did not need to start over from scratch. She simply resumed where she left off, adjusted if necessary, and kept moving. One thing that helps enormously during difficult stretches is tracking your net worth monthly, because even in a month where you felt like you made no progress, you may find that your net worth grew because your investments gained value, or because the automatic payment on your mortgage reduced your principal balance, or because that small automatic savings transfer quietly did its work. Progress is often happening even when it does not feel like it. Tracking your number keeps that visible. Another thing that helps is community. Find one person, a friend, a family member, an online community of women working toward financial independence, who you can share your goals and your progress with. Accountability is powerful. Celebration is powerful. And knowing that someone else is on the same road, working through the same challenges, can be the difference between giving up and getting back up. Your plan is your anchor. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. Imperfect, consistent action repeated over time will always build more wealth than perfect plans that get abandoned. And now I want to speak directly to you, personally. Before we close, you are capable of this, not eventually, not someday when the timing is better or the circumstances are easier or you have more money to start with. Right now, with your current income, your current life, your current knowledge base. The woman who woke up this morning worried about money is the exact same woman who is going to build financial freedom, not because she had every advantage, not because things came easily, but because she decided, on a specific day, in a specific moment, that her financial life was going to change, and she started learning what she needed to learn and doing what she needed to do. Financial freedom is not a fantasy reserved for women who started wealthy. It is a reality that ordinary women build, one intentional decision at a time. Women who learned what they were never taught. Women who asked the questions they were told were rude to ask. Women who invested the money they were told they did not have. Women who negotiated even when it was uncomfortable. Women who refused to let the wage gap, or the career interruption, or the socialization, or the years lost to someone else's priorities be the final word on what their financial life would look like. That woman is you, if you choose it, and you have already made that choice by being here, by staying for this entire conversation, by taking this seriously enough to give it your full attention. Now the question is, what specific action are you going to take in the next 24 hours? Not next week, not after the holidays, or after the move, or after things calm down. In the next 24 hours, maybe it is opening the high-yield savings account. Maybe it is pulling up 3 months of statements and starting the clarity exercise. Maybe it is calling one credit card company and asking for a lower rate. Maybe it is looking up what your employer's 401k matches and increasing your contribution to capture it. Whatever the next step is for you specifically, identify it and take it today, and then tell me about it in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Tell me where you are starting from. Tell me which part of this video hit hardest. Tell me what your first step is going to be. Your comment is not just for me, it is for the woman who is going to read it and feel less alone in her own starting point. This community grows when we show up honestly for each other, and every real comment matters. If this video helped you in any way, if it gave you clarity, or hope, or a specific action to take, or just the feeling that your situation is not hopeless, please share it. Share it with your sister and your best friend, and your mother, and your daughter. Share it with your coworker who you know is struggling quietly. Share it with the woman in your life who has never had anyone explain money to her without making her feel stupid. The more women who have access to this information, the more women who will build financial independence. and the more that freedom will ripple outward into their families, their communities, and the generations that follow them. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss what comes next. 'Cause we have a lot more ground to cover together, and if this video deserves to reach more women, which I believe it does, a like takes 2 seconds and tells the platform to share it further. I believe in you completely. I am rooting for you with everything I have. Financial freedom is not a destination that belongs to someone else. It is yours to build, and it starts now. I will see you in the next one.